Hi everybody, it's March 27th, 2020, and I want to welcome you to the Trumbull Public Schools' fourth broadcast of Distance Learning with Christina and Jonathan. I'm Jonathan Budd, Assistant Superintendent of the Trumbull Public Schools, and I'm joined again today by Christina Heffley, our Director of Digital Learning, and also by a special guest who will join with us virtually a little bit later in our conversation this morning. I want to thank you again for your support in the Trumbull community of the fine work that our teachers and administrators are doing helping distance learning be enacted for each and every child of the Trumbull Public Schools. We've been going at this really a short amount of time, and it's really amazing to see what has happened with our students and their learning in that time. Keep the questions coming to us. We have used them to inform much of what we're going to talk about today, and you will see a summary of the key questions and answers from this broadcast and the other broadcasts on our district website, www.trumbleps.org. Now, today, based on feedback, we're going to be really focusing on how parents can emotionally support their children during this very difficult time for all of us. And that's where our special guest will come in a little bit later in today's broadcast. But first, we'll start with some of the more academic or technological questions related to distance learning. And the first set today come all to you, Christina, because they're related to this Google Classroom Guardian for Parents, if I have that right again.
Yep.
And several questions we have, which is great because it's an important feature. And the first question is this. Wednesday, you talked about Google Classroom Guardian for Parents. Did parents get some kind of invitation about that? They might have heard about it, and should everyone have gotten that?
So yes, yesterday parents with students in grades 3 through 12 should have received an email from Rich Mastriani to accept the Google Classroom notification. Parents, all they need to do is click the accept invite, and then it will take them through a series of questions on how often they want the notifications. We got a number of parents asking yesterday as the emails were going out, because they started at about 2 o'clock and they probably ended about 8 o'clock going out over time, were these spam? It is not spam. It is email coming from the Trumbull Public Schools. We sent out an e-blast yesterday, which gives you sort of a picture of what the accept invite should look like and directions that parents should follow.
Now, does every parent have to accept this invitation? What if they're already enrolled in Google Classroom Guardian? And also, what if their child is in grades K to 2, where I thought we weren't using Google Classroom for distance learning?
Good question. So if you got a Google Guardian notification and you're already enrolled, there's no harm if you accept it. But we certainly have, if you're already getting the Guardian notifications, you'll still continue to get them. For students in K2, some parents may have gotten them, particularly if you have kids in older grades. Again, there's sort of no harm in accepting it. Once your child is a Google Classroom user as they get older, you'll already be enrolled in the system and be receiving notifications.
Now, if a parent did not get the invitation email, what should the parent do?
So if you did not get a Google invitation as a parent and you are not already a Google Classroom parent user, what we're suggesting you do is wait through today. We want to make sure all of those emails got through the system. If by Monday you still haven't gotten it, you can actually reach out to one of your students' classroom teachers. They can enroll you, or your technology integrator at your school, and they can add your email address. We're looking at the emails every day, and we actually only have a small percentage of parents that look like they haven't gotten in the invite. Also, if you haven't gotten the invite, the other thing to do is to check your spam folder and actually make sure that the invite didn't go to your spam folder.
Now, once I proceed with this whole process and accept the invitation, what will I see about my child's Google Classroom immediately? And what might I see as the days and weeks unfold?
Great question, Jonathan. We've had a number of parents that once they accepted the invite expected to get something right away. The way Google Guardian works is that when you accept that invitation, it will ask you, do you want weekly notifications or daily notifications? And then at a timed process, usually in the overnight hours, those notifications are sent out. So once you accept the invitation, if you selected daily, you can expect by the next day to start receiving those emails daily. If you selected weekly, it'll probably be a week before you get your first notification.
Great, thank you.
I have a couple of questions for you, Jonathan. For kids who are stressed and the pacing of the work they're finding difficult, what do you suggest parents do?
So we're going to talk about this with our special guest in a few minutes, but I would ask the community to be patient with all of us, both of us and also our great teachers in the community, because they are adapting curriculum that was written for the in-class experience to the online distance learning platform. And they're learning how to pace things most appropriately. They're understanding the range of students and how they and their families access technology. I think the most important thing for students and parents to do is to provide feedback to teachers and let them know how their children are experiencing the pace. And seeing a range of emails, I will tell you that some parents would like us to have a somewhat slower pace. Some parents would like us to have a slightly faster pace, and we will try to accommodate the vast range of students' needs on a both classroom basis and on a district basis as the days and weeks unfold. Our curriculum leaders, team leaders, and department chairs are helping teachers focus on the key aspects of the curriculum and not on ancillary or enrichment things, really keeping the core standards prominent.
We've also had a number of parents asking about if there are adjustments to any of the timelines that parents should be aware of, particularly around the high school.
Yes, and like everything else that's changed with the distance learning, many of our normal procedures and protocols must be changed because we're not in the buildings to do typical sorts of things. There have been some changes announced to the timelines and processes, for example, for registration for courses for students at Trumbull High School next year. And the details of that are coming out in our e-blasts to the community every afternoon. This is for our current 8th graders who will be going to Trumbull High, as well as for our current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders in finalizing the courses they wish to take for next school year. The next thing that's being adjusted at Trumbull High School is the expectation of exactly when the 3rd marking period will end and what work will be counted on that compared to what work will be counted on the 4th marking period. And there are some conversations with department chairs later today to finalize this. And by the time the broadcast comes out this afternoon, you should see some more details in our afternoon's e-blast. We also will have clarity to parents for the courses that are only 3rd quarter courses, when those will end, and when the new 4th quarter courses will begin. And you should start seeing details on that this afternoon. So that brings us to our special opportunity for this afternoon. We got some good feedback the other day on our read aloud, and I think it was due, Christina, mainly to your excellent answers related to our 3 main strategies to help any child and also digital literacy directors read really well. But the key to this is that we have said for a few weeks now, the most important thing at this time is the health and safety of everybody in the community. And that applies to our staff and our families and our students. And education takes a second seat when we have to ensure the health and safety of everyone in our community. And health and safety means physical needs are met. For example, what we're doing with meal service here at Trumbull High School to parents and families of kids in our community. But it also refers to emotional safety and making sure that kids who are now home, who are now not going to school, that they get the supports that they need to feel that they're in as good a place as they can be. So based on some parent feedback that that's an important topic, especially at the K-5 level, we've chosen a book to read with you that relates to this theme, and then we're going to bring in our special guest virtually. So we'll start, Christina, with this book, The Jelly Donut Difference, Sharing Kindness with the World. I don't think you've read it before.
No.
Would you like to talk a little bit about what you noticed from the cover?
You have two children on the cover who are smiling as they look to be carrying a bunch of donuts.
Very good. You're intrigued to read? Mm-hmm. We're keeping you enthusiastic. The sun was barely up on this chilly winter morning when Dexter ran down the stairs, following the mouth-watering smell of his mom's famous bacon and cheese bread pudding. "Not so fast," Dexter's twin sister Leah yelled. She yanked his shirt, getting ahead of him in time to nab the first plate of their Saturday breakfast. "3 weeks in a row, Dex," Leah grinned as she took the first bite of bacon cheesy deliciousness. "Why is it such a big deal to have the first bite of the pudding?" Dex demanded. Mama and Papa were busy cooking for family and friends who would be coming to dinner that night. "Leah, it's my turn to mix the stuffing," Dexter said as he pulled the spoon right out of her hands. It was then Papa realized they had run out of eggs. "Well, since you were the first to eat breakfast, Leah, you should go get eggs from Ms. Marvis," Dex told her. Instead, Papa sent both kids to get the eggs from their neighbor. Ms. Marvis answered the door and invited the twins inside. Right away, Dexter noticed a difference between their house and hers. It seemed too quiet. There were no good smells or messy countertops, just a bowl of cereal on the kitchen table. Dex wondered, where is Ms. Marvis's family? They never seem to come around. On the way home with the eggs, Dex turned to Leah. "Ms. Marvis's house seems so lonely." "Our house is always full of people," Leah observed. "So let's ask Mama and Papa to invite her over to dinner tonight," Dex suggested. "Good idea," Leah agreed. Ms. Marvis sat between Dex and Leah at the large dining table among other guests. She told stories of living in Poland with her children many years ago. She shared a Polish tradition of making and eating jelly donuts filled with sweet and savory fillings called punchki. Dexter's eyes lit up. Ms. Marvis told them, "Traditionally, we made punchki during the winter months to use up all the lard, sugar, eggs, and fruit in the house before fasting for a holiday." At the meal's end, Ms. Marvis thanked them all. "What a special treat to be here with you tonight. I love remembering when my children were young and the traditions we shared," Ms. Marvis said as she brushed away a tear. "Now, they're grown and gone. Why, I haven't made those donuts in years." So, Christina, we'll pause here. We talked with parents the other day about the value of helping kids make predictions when they read. So, based on what's happened so far, what do you think will happen next in the book?
I think the two children are going to actually ask her if they can make donuts with her.
And why do you think that?
Because you can tell that the kids are exhibiting a lot of kindness and empathy by inviting her to dinner. They seem very excited about the donuts and hearing about her stories from Poland and what she used to do with her children. So I think that the children are going to ask her if they can make the donuts with her.
Let's see if that comes true. The next morning, the twins played in the snow. When they came in to warm up, Leah grabbed the last packet of hot cocoa mix right out of Dexter's hands. Dexter was about to yank back the mix when Papa interrupted. "I have a recipe here for punchki, those jelly donuts Ms. Marvis mentioned. Do you want to make them with me?" Soon the kitchen was filled with gooey blueberry filling, melted butter, whipping cream, and other sticky ingredients. Leah, it's your turn to stir, Dex said, trying not to lick sugar off his fingers as he handed his sister the spatula. When they were done, the twins dropped off a bag on Ms. Marvis's porch. "She'll love them, I just know it," said Dex. He and Leah trudged back home through the snow. At dinner that night, the twins devoured jelly donuts for dessert. So we'll pause here, Christina. For an elementary school student, that word devoured might not be familiar. So can you talk about what you think that word means based on what's happened on this page?
So when you look at the words around it at dinner that night, so it makes it sound like it might be something that they're eating. It says the twins devoured jelly donuts for dessert, and then it also talks about how they were a part of the dessert. So typically when you look at that, you would say, dessert, eating, they probably really liked it. So my guess is it probably means something like eating really fast.
Okay, nicely done. The following weekend, Dexter looked out the window. Leah was building a snowman. He ran out to join her. Leah stepped in front of her snowman. "Stop, Dex, don't knock it down." No, I wasn't going to," Dex replied. "I have an idea. Let's go build a snow family in Ms. Marvis's yard. She'll love all the company." A few days later, on Monday, the twins found a letter from Ms. Marvis. Dex picked it up and read it out loud. "Dear Dexter and Leah, the punchki you made for me were wonderful. Even better was the lovely dinner you invited me to and the snow family you built for me. Your acts of kindness are really appreciated. You found a great way to spend your time, and it made me feel extra special. Who would have thought jelly donuts could make such a difference? Warm wishes, Ms. Marvis." Before Leah could grab the letter from him, Dex handed it to her. "I'm thankful we have each other," he said. "It felt good to work together." Leah grinned, "And I'm thankful we learned how to make jelly donuts." The twins giggled until their bellies hurt, thinking about the new treats and tradition they hoped to continue. The end. So that brings us, everybody, to our virtual guest this morning. This will be Laura Katz. Laura is a social worker in our district, and she's participating virtually because we are limiting the amount of people coming into our buildings, and we ourselves are practicing social distancing. So Laura will be answering the questions that I ask from her own home, and we are focusing again on the emotional safety of children at this particular time in our nation and our world situation, and how we as adults can best support them. So the first question to you, Laura, is that many people in Trumbull Public Schools may not know you and the great work that you do. So could you introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about your background in the Trumbull Public Schools?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on to talk about this important topic today for our families. My name is Laura Katz, and I'm the school social worker at Daniels Farm Elementary. I've been there, I think, for about 16 years, and I absolutely love working with the kids and the staff at Daniels Farm. I do a whole range of things. I do individual and group counseling with kids who have a variety of behavioral or social emotional issues. I do whole class work on pro-social building skills, class lessons. I do yoga with all the first graders every year, and just help out wherever kids need it. Sometimes it's kids I see regularly, sometimes it's kids who are just struggling for a short period of time with a social issue, a peer issue, a family issue, and help the teachers out with strategies to help their kids who are struggling behaviorally or emotionally.
So you have had an opportunity at home to read The Jelly Donut Difference, just like Christina has here today. And I'm wondering, Laura, from your perspective as a school social worker, what are the important lessons that you feel the book conveys?
What a great book. I really loved this story. And I think that it's especially timely, this message about spreading kindness to each other with siblings inside the family, because now that all of us are sort of stuck at home together, I'm imagining that there are many, many more sibling arguments and squabbling and fights than even on a regular day. So I love the message of the siblings learning to work together and be kind to each other. And maybe the kids who hear the story will be able to think about ways that they can do that and realize that it's not so bad to sort of be stuck with the people that we love the most.
Thanks for that. Now, some elementary school parents have contacted us, as you know, Laura, that they're struggling right now with children who are very upset that school is not in session. Based on your expertise, why do you think our children might be struggling right now? What are they struggling with as a result of the school closures and what they might know about this COVID-19 pandemic?
So many of the kids and parents that I've spoken to since we've been out of school are expressing feelings of sadness, anxiety, fear, anger, confusion. Also, a lot of people are feeling some joy and happiness from this extra time that we have at home with the people that we love. While working remotely for a lot of us, we're still working and teaching our kids is hard. There is something to this being home with the people that you love in a way that we don't normally get to do. A lot of us, me included, are enjoying the extra time with our pets and being able to get some fresh air and sunshine in the middle of the day and take a break and go outside for a minute. So I think the range of people's emotions is really spanning all sorts of things, and sometimes cycling through all these different feelings, multiple times in a day, which is challenging for us as adults, and it's certainly challenging for our kids. Some children are frustrated with having to work online. Some kids I've talked to are enjoying it. Most kids are really missing their friends and their teachers and that social connection, and are kind of mourning things that they don't get to do. I've spoken to kids who've had birthdays over the last 2 weeks or know they have birthdays coming up. Today should be the celebration of arts, which is something that we do at Daniels Farm School every year. It's something that all the staff and all the kids really look forward to. So this is kind of a sad day because we know that we're missing that. And lots of kids are experiencing anxiety and anxiety symptoms. They might be having trouble sleeping. They might be more clingy with their parents. They might be showing some regressive behaviors. That can be anything, depending on the age of your child, to being less independent than normal. Sometimes younger kids revert back to baby talk, not being able to sleep, having lots of fears, wanting to sleep with you all of a sudden again. Sometimes even kids who have been toilet trained for years are wetting the bed during times of anxiety and stress.
So based on that, what general advice would you have for the parents and guardians of children who might be struggling at this time?
I think first and foremost, the most important thing parents need to do right now is to be kind to themselves, be kind to ourselves. I'm a parent too. It's a difficult time and it's stressful, and we all have a lot of different stressors. Some of the parents I'm speaking to are still working and going out into the world and working. Some are medical professionals. There's a lot of stress about their jobs out in the world and concern about bringing germs home to their families. A lot of us are working from home. We're all figuring out how to do this in a way that we've never done it before. For those of us who I've never worked at home before. So there's a lot of new challenges and things that I'm learning. And our kids are learning how to do this stuff at home too. A lot of us are stressed about money. Some people are laid off. Some people are concerned about being laid off. There's a stress about having to do jobs while being a quote unquote teacher to our kids at this time and helping them through that. So parents are under a lot of stress. So I think that they need to give themselves some grace, give themselves a break, and know that it's okay to take things one day at a time. You might have some days where your work is going great, this homeschooling thing, quote unquote homeschooling, is going great, and everybody's kind of rolling through what they need to do. And there are some days where it's not, and that's okay. Parents need to give themselves and their kids permission to have a tough day, to maybe not do every single thing that they were asked to do online, or to leave it for a little bit and take a break in the middle of the day. You know, everybody is advising us to have a schedule at home for the kids, and that is super important. Most kids really do thrive under consistency, but you know your kids, and there are times that schedule needs to go out the window. If your child had a rough night sleeping, there's no reason to wake them up at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever time you were waking them up to get them going with their work. You can let them sleep in a little bit and do that. If you see them struggling with a particular assignment, it's okay to say, let's put this on hold, let's go outside, let's take a break, let's come back to it, or let's try something else first. Looks like writing's tough today, let's try math, and then we'll go back to it. Give yourself permission to let the day kind of unfold how the day has to unfold. I think that's the best that we can do. Have a schedule, but be flexible for our kids. I do have some concrete tips to managing, your kids and their feelings at this time. The first thing is not to be afraid to talk about what's going on, even with really young kids. You do need to be developmentally appropriate. You don't want to scare them. But giving them basic information, telling them that there's a virus out there, whatever, that's dangerous for people, and that's why you're staying home. Kids have a way of filling in information when we don't give it to them. So if you think that you're protecting your kids, even your very young kids, by not telling them anything about what's going on, you're not, because they can pick up on tension in the house from you. They can pick up on the things that you're talking about that you don't think that they're listening. Kids are, the minute we lower our voices, their little ears perk up, realizing that whatever we're saying is probably pretty interesting. So they're hearing bits of the news, they're hearing bits of your conversation, and kids tend to fill in the gaps of things that they're not being told. So they may be filling in the information with, of course, likely false information that could even be scarier for them. So it's important to tell kids what's going on in a developmentally appropriate way, and to take your cues from them. Kids have a way of sort of letting us know when they've had enough information. If they sort of are turning around and looking around, they've moved their body away from you, they start talking about something else, they literally get up and walk away from you, that's it, they're done, they're good. That's all the information that they need right now. So you want to sort of monitor the way that you're telling them, but it is really important to talk to kids, and then to reassure them that they're safe. Just like everything in life, you want to be reassuring your kids that your primary job as their parent is to keep them safe, and that you're doing that right now. And that's why you're staying home. That's why they're not going to school. That's why you're not going to work. Or if you are going to work, that's why, you're washing your hands and taking clothes off and doing things that when you come home, that's why we don't have life as normal going on right now. It's all part of, something out there is scary, but they're home and safe with you. And it's I always tell parents, tell kids, it's your job to worry about that. They don't have to worry about that. That's the grown-up thing, and you're going to worry about it for them and make sure that they're safe and healthy. You want to be, again, reassuring to your kids. You want to find a way for them to connect with their friends. That's the biggest concern for most of the parents I've spoken to and the kids I've spoken to. Obviously, you have to keep them home. They can't be playing with their friends. Even young kids, the social distancing thing, keeping 6 feet apart, that's very, very hard for them. So it is best if kids are physically away from the people that they know. But there's ways to do this. You can help them connect online. They could have a FaceTime play date with friends. You could prop the phone up on FaceTime at the table and let them have lunch with a friend or two. I think you can FaceTime with up to 3 other people, or go on a Google Hangout or, a Zoom call or something like that. They can play a game virtually with friends. Just find little times for them to connect with their friends, and technology can really be our friend in this. We spend a lot of time, which we should, worrying about our kids online and, disconnecting them from their devices. But this is really a time where technology is our friend. And obviously you have to monitor your kids and their use of technology, and if they're a little older and have social media, the way that you always do. But this is not I don't believe a time to limit their use of that, because it is their lifeline, especially older kids. It is their lifeline to their friends. And you can find low-tech ways of doing this. You could tell a friend in the neighborhood that you're going for a walk and have them open the door, and the kids can wave to each other from the doorway and the sidewalk and yell a conversation like that. Even if a friend doesn't live super close by, you could get in the car and pull them, up in front of the house and roll down your window and just let the kids physically see each other. If you have friends in your neighborhood, take some sidewalk chalk if you have littler kids or even a little bit older, and leave them a message on the sidewalk in front of their house for them to find when they come out, and ask them to do the same thing. You could write a note to a friend or draw a picture and tape it up in the window, and then tell them when they walk by your house to take a look at that and ask them to do the same. So there's ways that you can be creative, but know that that social connection and those social skills that kids practice anytime that they're engaged together are such a huge part of what we do in school, and that's vital for them. So don't skip that part. Don't worry so much about the writing and the reading and the math. Yes, that's all important, but don't forget that a huge part of what we're doing in school is building social skills through these connections, through these communications. A lot of what the kids do daily in school is done together. So you have to find ways for them to be doing that part at home, because it is an essential part of their education, not just the academic part.
And then, Laura, what should we do if a child is acting really aggressive or really angry?
Some children can respond to this kind of stressor with anger or aggression. It's important to remember in kids that anxiety often presents as anger or irritability. Kids might not have the understanding or the vocabulary to tell you, I'm nervous, I'm worried, I'm anxious. They may just be more irritable than usual, quicker to snap than usual. And again, that's expected. For some kids, this may be part of the regressive behavior that I talked about. Maybe your child had some aggression when they were younger and they've kind of moved past that developmentally. They may be going back to that a little bit now. That may just be part of a regression. So I think it's twofold. I think you have to understand that these are responses to stress, and that in that way they're normal. And then I think you also have to set limits. It doesn't mean that kids are allowed to be aggressive. They're allowed, you can tell kids you're allowed to be angry. Being angry is fine, but hurting people is not, or hurting yourself is not, or hurting objects, throwing things is not. So you can help them know that the feeling is acceptable and normal, and it's the expression of it. So you could guide them in ways to express their anger in a different way. Maybe they could punch a pillow. Maybe they could scream into the pillow. Maybe they could go run around outside, squeeze hands together, doing those kind of things to express that, get that emotion out of them in a way that's a little bit more socially acceptable. So again, you have to set limits, but understand that this may happen, and it's not anything at this point to really be too concerned about, because it's just probably an anxiety response, especially if this is a new behavior. You also want to help name the feeling for your child. Just sometimes saying to them, if they scream at you, just sometimes saying even like, wow, it sounds like you're really angry. That's okay to do. And then you can set the limit. Again, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to scream at me. Do you want to talk about it? Don't force them to talk about it, but you certainly offer yourself as an ear. And do you want to try something else that makes you feel less angry? So I think setting limits and understanding that those kind of responses may be typical for your child and just something you need to work through.
And I'm seeing, Laura, some things in the media about the relationship of parents' emotions to children's emotions. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit from your perspective how parents can help manage their own emotions right now.
This is key. Managing our own anxiety right now is really key, not only for ourselves as parents, for our own emotional and mental well-being, but to help our kids, because like I said, kids really do pick up on anxiety in the surrounding. They pick up on our anxiety in ways that we might not even realize we're kind of projecting it. So this is really that adage about putting your own oxygen mask on first. You need to take care of yourself if you're going to take care of the rest of your family. So that means trying to get enough sleep, even though anxiety might be making sleep harder for us. It means eating well. means getting exercise, even though you're stuck at home and maybe your gym might be closed, finding a way to exercise at home. Turning off the news. That's not only for our kids hearing it, but it's hard. It feels like it's coming at us all the time. Not watching as much news, not reading as much news online. That's been really hard for me. And I've been doing that the last couple of days, really tuning it out and not taking it in. I know it's all going to happen out there, whether I'm reading about it or not, and it's been super helpful and reduced my anxiety a great deal. So watch what you are consuming. Spend time together with your family. Don't be so stressed out about all the work that you have to do and all the work that they have to do that you're missing out on opportunities to just be together. So watch a movie together, play a game together, just sit with your child. Hold them if they're sad, bake some cookies, just do the things that we don't normally have time to do, that you might have more time to do now. So give yourself permission to have downtime, to take care of yourself, take a bath, take a walk, phone a friend, have a FaceTime with a friend yourself. That might not be something that you usually do, but that might be a real kind of happiness boost at this time. Start a daily gratitude practice. That's another thing I do that's really powerful for me. It's just starting your day, either thinking out loud or thinking to yourself or writing down 3 things you're grateful for. It has a profound effect on your day and kind of a cumulative effect. And the more you do that, sort of the more powerful it can be. And that's another good thing even to practice as a family or to do with your child.
I know, Laura, that your experience in the Trumbull Public Schools is at the K-5 level, but you have background training and a lot of knowledge about all types of students. So is there more information you could give our community on middle or high school students? How would your advice be the same or different for them?
My advice for parents of older kids is very similar. You definitely want to make sure that they have accurate information about what's going on, because they may be looking at news sites that you're not aware of and hearing things from friends and reading things, and they may be scared and they might have inaccurate information. So it's really important to ask them, what do they know? Tell them what you know. Tell them what they might be thinking that is inaccurate. They do not maybe understand why it's so important for you to keep them home, and your older kids may be really pushing against this, and that is really hard. Know that it is okay for them to be angry with you. It's okay for them to be frustrated. Again, these kids are missing lots of things. For really our older kids, our high school seniors, this is really, really tough. There are a lot of things that they have been looking forward to for years and years coming up that they can't do, or that they're unsure that they're going to be able to do. So it's okay for them to be upset about that. It's okay for them to mourn that and be sad. Don't push away. Don't make them push away those feelings. Let them express them and just say that you're sorry. There's really nothing we can do about concern about proms being canceled and graduations and graduation parties and birthdays for them, and just all sorts of stuff. That this should be a real, for our seniors especially, a real carefree time. Most of them have heard from most of their colleges, and this should be a time to be really still doing schoolwork, but taking the foot off the gas a little bit. And so it's a real loss for them. So don't minimize that. Don't try to tell them, well, they don't have it as bad as some other people. Let them have their feelings. Of course, for some of our kids, they're going to have friends whose parents are letting them go out and letting them do things still. And that's hard. Again, they may be mad at you for that. That's okay. Know that it's fine for your kids to be mad. Keep them home. You know that is the right thing to do. They don't have to know that's the right thing to do right now. So just reassuring them that it's your job to keep them safe, and that's all right if they're mad at you. So a lot of the time as parents, we think that we can't have that. We can't have our kids upset with us or mad at us, and you absolutely can. Know that it's time for us as adults to do the right thing, to model the right thing for our kids, and to let them be upset. Again, with our older kids, depending on their age and what you were letting them do before, that phone that drives us so crazy so much of the time really is their lifeline. I do not believe that this is a time to be, as long as kids are engaging with you in some ways and doing their schoolwork, I don't believe that this is a time to be limiting their time on their phones, on whatever social media they already have and you're letting them use. Things like that game Fortnite. Oh, I hate that game. I am a parent of a young adult and a teenager, and I hate it. But honestly, at this point, that game is the only way the kids who are playing that game are engaging with friends, and it is as social as they can get. We can't tell them that they can't leave the house and they can't go out, and they also can't be on Snapchat or Instagram or Fortnite or any of those things that that they use. And that doesn't mean that I think you shouldn't be monitoring your kids' social media in the same way that you always were, maybe even a little bit more. And I'm not saying that parents of, like sixth graders need to go out and put their kids on all sorts of social media, but whatever they were doing before, however they were interacting with friends before, that's really important for them. Again, for the older kids, that social piece in their school day is essential. It is just as important as all the other stuff. And so we need to find ways to let them have that, even though they're mediums that we might not want them using all the time. Again, encourage family activity, encourage, with your older kids, encourage them to come down. Everybody's still eating dinner together. I know in my house, we haven't eaten dinner together, all four of us, this much in probably 10 years. That's been great. And then if my older kids are wanting to have that dinner and then back up to their rooms and don't want to hang out with us, that's fine. Pull them in as much as you can. Invite your older kids to watch a TV show with you, to play a game with you, to go for a walk with you. But know that just like if they're teenagers, this is just like any other time where they really are spending more time away from us as parents. So try to engage them, but understand they're still teenagers and they're dealing with this the best way that they can.
And then, given everything you've said, Laura, how would a parent or guardian know that it might be time to seek professional advice on how to help their child during this difficult time?
So first of all, every single school in Trumbull has a school social worker like me, a school psychologist, and the middle schools and the high schools have school counselors. So we are all still working. We are checking emails. We are calling parents. We are calling kids. We are here to offer support and advice to anyone in our schools who need it. So it doesn't matter whether you're someone who's never sought the services of the school support staff or someone who does regularly. Reach out to the professionals in your school first. We are here to help you with anything that you need help with at this time. Generally, when you have kids who are experiencing persistent feelings of sadness, of anxiety, changes in their behavior, real changes in their sleeping, changes in their eating, isolating themselves more than normal, again, for teenagers, kind of isolating themselves is the norm, isolating themselves more than normal, seeming more upset than normal. And again, I'm saying all kids might be having these, but if it's going on and seems more persistent, they're never having times where they're popping out of those feelings. Certainly if your kids are engaging in any self-harm behaviors, self-injurious behaviors, are saying anything that could sound like they were even vaguely thinking about suicide, making statements like, I wish I wasn't here, I don't want to do this anymore, I can't do this anymore, you should get help right away. Our 211 services are still in effect. That's a number that you can call for support anytime. Again, reach out to your school support staff. If you have a question about, is this typical for my kid or do I need to be worried about it, just reach out to us. We'll help you answer that question based on what you tell us about your individual child. Another resource in Trumbull is the Mary J. Sherlock Counseling Center. That's always there, but they are closed physically, but they are providing services on the phone, and that's a great resource for people to utilize. So if you call them, you can look them up. It's the Mary J. Sherlock Center, or the number there is 203-452-5193. And if you leave them a voicemail, they will get back to you quickly, and they are doing phone sessions with kids, with families, so they are here to support you. So know that there are a lot of people here at this time to support you and your child, and just reach out to us. We're here for you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been great to have this conversation. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for all of that, Laura, and thank you and the rest of the Trumbull Public Schools staff for all you're doing at home for our parents and families and students. Christina, what most stood out to you in Laura's comments?
I think the thing that resonated with me the most was when she told parents to be kind to themselves. You know, some days the schooling from home is going to work out and other days it isn't. And she just really suggested give yourself a break, give your kid a break. If it's not working, go take a walk, go bake cookies, go spend time together as a family.
Thanks. Everybody, we're actually going to end on a somewhat different note today. I received last night the best piece of student work, and it was from a first grade teacher at Frenchtown Elementary School, Remy Grunow. And she wanted to share with me a piece of opinion writing that one of her students has been working with this week. She was very proud of him. And as soon as I saw it, I thought I would like to read it today. So we have permission from this student and his parent to read his piece, and I think it's interesting because it helps remind me in the context of what we and Laura have said that often children are more resilient than we think. So Remy had asked the students in her class to begin writing an opinion piece about homeschooling or regular schooling. Which one do you think is better? And this is from Mateus Matute in grade 1 at Frenchtown Elementary School. Homeschool or regular school is his title. And here's his piece. Do you like homeschool or regular school? I like homeschool because I do not have to get up early to take the bus, and I can use my Chromebook every day. I do not like regular school because you have to get up at 7:30 a.m. I have to get up this early because I have to get ready for the bus. It also takes a long time to get on the bus because some kids don't listen to the bus driver and do not sit correctly. They put their feet in their aisle, and that can cause a serious problem because you can trip and fall. You can also use your Chromebook every day to do work. At school, you can only use the Chromebook on Thursday because Ms. Windsor has to share the Chromebooks with the other first grade classes. I miss my teacher, Ms. Grunow, and my friends, especially Ryan, Luke, and Elvis. But I am really enjoying homeschooling because I do not have to get up early and because I can use my Chromebook every day. So at the end of what I know has been a long and stressful week for everybody, I think Mateus's words remind us that kids can be more resilient, and the message and the model and example we set for them, like our good teacher Ms. Grunow is doing, those are models for how kids will respond in these complicated times. So I want to thank you everybody for listening. I want to remind you that you can see daily updates from Superintendent Ayasagna and me, and they're all posted on the Trumbull Public Schools website, www.trumbleps.org, and we will continue to be pleased to get your feedback as the days and weeks evolve. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.